Hi, everyone. Hi, can you hear? Yes. Okay. Okay. Well, first of all, thank you so much for coming here. The weather is very cold. It's almost going to rain. It's been a very crazy week for those who have been in the 4 years from now or the Mobile World Capital Conference. Who here has been there in one of the conference? Okay, quite a few. So it's been quite busy, an exciting week, I hope for you as well. So I introduce myself. My name is Veronica. I'm 41 years old and I'm born in Barcelona. And I have served as a chief of marketing officer in several companies. And I trained as well during 4 years many entrepreneurs, hundreds of them, earlier stage entrepreneurs on business models and lean startup from 2012 to 2010 and 2014. Then I also coach at Singularity University in the US, and I also started my own company back in 2014. And then 4 years later, I left my company. My partner is continuing the company, and I moved to blockchain. 6 months ago, I started to be interested and reading and studying. And now I'm the head of marketing of Jelurida, which is a company that offers blockchain software solutions for enterprise and companies. So, what is this group? This group is the Blockchain for Business Meetup in Barcelona. So the aim of this group was creating a space and a place where we can discuss the application of this technology in the enterprise space, not talking about cryptocurrencies and investing and speculating. That I think it's very interesting, but we are not here for that. We are here to know more about the technology behind the cryptocurrencies that is very interesting to be applied in companies, in business. So the group started in November. We are 6 organizers, all experts of blockchain. Some of the organizers are in the space since 2013. So we are very lucky to have this pool of organizers. Joan Manel here from the Nxt community, Noelia there, Ruben there as well, and who else? A couple of more that couldn't be here today. So we are around 500 members. We expect to be growing every month. We expect to do a meetup every month or every 2 weeks sometimes. And we have a Telegram group if you search for blockchain for business as well. The Telegram group is an initiative to start to continue the conversation from here afterwards. And we also have a link if you see the Meetup page. We also have a link for those people that are building a project in blockchain to apply and send us the contact so we can present use cases in future meetups. So the goal of this group is to meet, to share our knowledge, exchange experiences, learn one from each other, and because we value a lot the connection between people, we always try to finish the event 1 hour before this place closes, so we can have a beer back there and we can meet each other. This is why you have a sticker, so that you know when you start talking with any person here that orange means business and blue means technical. And so I see some of you that have 2 colors, so lucky you. Okay. So, okay. So, I want to also say that tomorrow the same organizers we are organizing another meetup which will be a more reduced group of people with Lior Yaffe, which is he is the blockchain expert talking today. We were going to meet him today. And the meetup of tomorrow, it's in a bar at Born, and it's also at the meetup.com page. The group is the Ardor and Nxt Barcelona group, and this group is more about talking about our technology. So anyone that wants to know more about NXT or Ardor, blockchain as a service, you can come tomorrow and have more like a chat with us. Okay, so today we have a great panel. We have a great panel formed by 3 experts covering 3 important topics that anyone of you thinking to apply blockchain technology into business should be aware of. These 3 pillars are technology, right? So we have a blockchain technology expert. Legal, because the regulatory part of it is very important, and business, right? How actually I bring a business to the market. So these 3 areas are very important pillars in any successful new business. So this is why we felt that this type of panel with these 3 people made a lot of sense for today. So please welcome everyone to our 3 guests. Can you come here, please? Can we welcome? Okay. Well, thank you all of you for coming here. I know you're very busy people, 3 of you. So I want you to first to introduce yourself. So Leo, who are you?
I define myself as an aging computer kid. I've been programming for many years, worked for several small companies and large companies, mainly in the mainframe integration business, until one day I found out about blockchain. And from this day, I started to focus almost completely about this technology, which I think has a potential to change the world in so many ways. So started around 2014 as open source development, and later, together with my partners, I established Jelurida, which is a company that develops blockchain solutions based on the existing Ardor brand, blockchain brand. Okay.
Great, thanks. Welcome here. So Jorge Canta is our second guest.
Oh, I have a simpler CV. I am a
Very
lawyer.
Very simple. That's why I need you to introduce yourself.
Just a lawyer, devoted to financial regulatory matters. I have been in Cuatrecasas from 2001, and I am a partner in the Madrid office. And I spend my time advising clients on financial regulatory issues, what means in this world of blockchain and ICOs, trying to help people to understand where is the financial regulator and where are the promoters, and how things can be done without triggering financial problems.
Good. We are very lucky to have Jorge here. He came to with this meeting from Madrid, so thank you, Jorge. Sunil.
Hi everybody. I'm Sunil Bardwaj. I've been involved in the sports manager business for almost 20 years. Been involved in basketball basically most of my sport career, and also been a general manager in different basketball clubs in Spain, and worked for F1 as well. So, and 2 years ago, 5-6 years ago, I quit from the sport business. I started to develop a kind of business that they don't have any kind of relation with sports. And 2 years ago, with another friend of me who played for Barcelona basketball team, and we know for almost 15 years ago. We started to introduce me to blockchain, and we start to think about how this technology could change the sport business, because we are agreed that the sport business needs to be changed, and that's why we build up Global South.
Okay, thank you, Sunil. Okay, so let's go with the first question. So let me ask you something. Do you think there is a hype now on all this blockchain thing? Who thinks there is a hype? Okay, some smiles here and there. Okay, so what do you think? Do you think there is a hype? Do you think that in 10, 20 years we are going to see end users using services and products that will contain the blockchain technology, or it's just something in this at the moment in Europe?
Okay, so certainly there is a hype today, especially with public tokens. People are having real difficulty to put a value on this kind of strange technology. It's a lot of fun to buy these tokens and to trade them, and people like it. It's very simple, relatively simple to buy them, much more difficult to sell them. So that also provides a lot of support to this industry. And the other thing is that it's difficult, unlike, for example, financial instruments where you have some kind of measurements to their value. If blockchain technology really becomes something mainstream that is used everywhere, the value of the crypto economy can grow almost unlimitedly. There is almost no limit to the value that this economy can grow to. And of course, it may happen, it may not happen, but we are here to try, to give it a try.
Okay, Jorge, what do you think?
Well, from the financial regulatory standpoint, there is a hype. We have, practically all the regulators across the world saying something about ICOs, about cryptos, about this stuff. I think, of course, there is. And the question is, we are living a moment that it is not so good for one in the terms of what we think lawyers. That there is a situation of uncertainty. It is when I am launching an ICO, what I can expect to be on a regulated or on a unregulated world. And we try to make it simple. And in the financial world, we have, let's say, the gold bullion. Okay, it's a commodity. It is not a financial instrument. We have stocks. This is a financial instrument. And now, the relevant decision for someone who is launching an ICO, it's I am gold bullion or a stock. And this is what all the regulators are trying to understand and to decide, and all the promoters and all the people trying to set up ICOs, trying to understand and seeing what are the risks that they are facing on the model they are using.
I think, of course, there is a hype on blockchain right now all over the world. That's obvious. So, like any other kind of hype that has happened in the past. But I think the most important thing is how the companies decide to use blockchain as a main purpose. Or the one way they develop a product, and then I think the other way, blockchain makes a big difference, because otherwise it doesn't make sense just to use. Of course, there will be people who just because it's a hype and it's an easy way maybe to raise money, or they think it's an easy way to raise money, they will use blockchain as a security, of course. But that will happen in blockchain and any other environment. So I think the most important thing is people who believe that blockchain can change the world, but not the changes, improve it.
Okay. My second question is for you, Jorge. So can a country really put barriers on blockchain technology? So we are witnessing now a moment where in one hand we have countries that are banning cryptocurrencies like Korea, and in the other hand we see countries like Venezuela that is launching its own cryptocurrency. So how we are going to coexist with this situation if it's a digital world where there are no barriers and every territory is taking his strategy. How do
Probably
you
this
see
is
that?
the toughest scenario for regulators.
Okay.
Because, at the end of the day, and to make it simpler, yeah, if Veronica goes to New Zealand, travels to New Zealand, opening a bank account there, it's buying whatever, cryptocurrencies, bonds, or any financial instrument, you are subject to the New Zealand rules, nothing to do with the consumer rules where you are living. And this is happening here with all these, the ICOs. Typically, investors are seeking for investment in an ICO that is not particularly addressed or offered in the country where you live. So, and if you see, for instance, the CNMB statement, they say, okay, you have to understand, the CNMB says, you as a consumer, you have to understand that if you are buying this, you are not covered by the consumer protection of your own country, of Spain. This is not what you are expecting. And if you are buying things in Venezuela, you are covered by the Venezuela rules, that I don't know how good are, except you are American, because it's a different world. If you are American, it's nothing to do with this, because our rules are territorial. So Spanish rules and European rules in general are territorial in the sense that you are triggering a regulation of the home country, where you are, of the customer. When you are offering this financial product in that country, you are addressing the investors in that country. The CNMB says when your web page is in Spanish. Well, I don't think that this is the case. No? But let's say that your web page is in English, you are not offering to a particular country, then, you are not deemed to offer to Spaniards. Yeah? But in the case of America, it's different. From the perspective of the American, from the US law, everything in this world is offered to Americans. Except you are saying in your prospectus, your ICO, your offering, that you are not expressly saying that this ICO is not purported, or it is not aimed at raising money in the States. So you are, at the end of the day, you are not accepting US investors in an ICO. Yeah? But in any country out of America, there is now that big problem for the regulators. How to address this technological wall to the physical idea of offering something in the country of your customers or where your people live.
Mm-hmm. So that means that if we are not covered, for example, I'm Spanish and I'm investing in companies from another countries, I'm not protected. So does it mean that the responsibility it's going towards the individual? So we are going towards a society that people will have to take more responsibility?
I don't think so. Probably this is going to change. And probably the standards that we are using are going to change because how you define where an ICO or an IPO is offered to investors in a country. Probably this is a standard that is going to change. But of course, if it is your own decision, then it's nothing to do with the regulation of your own country. It is your own decision. Mm-hmm. But we know that customers are not well-informed investors typically. Mm-hmm. And if you have this I mean, if you have that situation in which, I mean, you can buy anything everywhere, probably there will be cases of fraud or mis-selling of products, for sure.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, Lior, there are many examples where, changing a little bit the topic, there are many examples where the decentralization, which is the main thing of blockchain, makes a lot of sense. But there are some others that it doesn't, like we don't have to decentralize everything. So can you make an example, or can you explain a little bit when it makes sense or when it doesn't make sense?
Yep. So, and you have to understand, guys, that we were on the 4Y FM and
Yeah,
on the
you were
MWC. So 4 times I already kind of repeated this.
Yeah, I know. We had very intense.
Yes. So I'm pretty white. I practice it a lot. So let's try. So a good use case for blockchain solutions is when you have third-party entities that wants to work with each other but don't trust each other. So it can appear in this, it can appear between banks, between insurance companies, mobile operators, but it can also appear between individuals. And the way to identify the situation is all kind of manual processes that we are still doing, like the way that we are today. All the documents that we are signing are already in computer, but still we print it, sign it, scan it, and send it. This is because of trust, because we don't have a digital identity that people can trust. And then on top of that, think about how you vote. I mean, Catalonia is of course a very sensitive subject. We go to school, stand in line, everybody is checking everybody and so on. And again, it's because when you try to use software for voting, a programmer with a single SQL statement can change the outcome of the vote. I mean, you can protect against it, but it's very difficult. But blockchain, because it provides you an immutable ledger, which is decentralized, everybody is checking everybody. Every node in the blockchain needs to reach the same consensus. Then it takes away the issue of trust. Nobody needs to trust each other anymore. And once you have digital identity figured out, you can also vote on your mobile app. And the minute the poll is over, you can get the count of the votes. And there is no risk that one centralized entity will censor the vote or change the count or things like that. So this is a scenario you need to look for. I'd also like to say something maybe about this use case. Blockchain is about taking the middleman. I mean, in many scenarios you see that there are someone that wants to work or do something, but in the middle there is some mitigator or clearinghouse or government agency that takes fees, extort censorship, and in general complicates the process. So this is example how you take the funding of new athlete and let people directly put a value on it instead of just letting many people cut their stake in the process. So,
and just an example, in football it happens very often. I'm a football player, he's my manager, okay, and he's a manager of a club and wants to sign me. And instead to go to the manager and ask for me, he go to another manager and say, can you talk with the player because next year I want to sign him. And then the other manager, the agent comes to my manager, so at the end it's like so many pieces of the cake is sharing everybody. So while it would be in the blockchain, it would be directly.
Yeah, okay. Good, so in terms of development here, what are the big challenges that we are going to see companies technology companies, blockchain software companies investing on the development in the next years?
So one obvious areas in which there is a lot of development is be able to scale these solutions better in order to reach global scale and allow you more transactions per second and so on.
So scalability.
What is called scalability in general. Another very difficult feature for the blockchain industry is that you are responsible for your actions on the blockchain. And people are not used to be responsible for their actions. I mean, because with your bank, you move the money to a wrong account, you call the bank and they will revert this transaction. In the blockchain world, it doesn't work like this. You made a transaction, it's done, and that's it. And it's lost if it's lost. Moreover, I mean, in blockchain, we use what is called public key cryptography. If you lost your private key, you lost everything you owned on this specific blockchain token. Now, while it makes a lot of sense to programmers, in the real world, it doesn't work very well because people make mistakes. Okay, sometimes they initialize their account while they were drunk, and the morning later, they don't remember what the password was, and there is no way to recover it. So what they do, they come to the developers.
And what do they say?
What? And the developer said, but I can't do anything. If I could recover the tokens, I would just steal the tokens and run away. And the whole thing it's designed this way that the developers cannot recover the password. But we are so used that everything we do is reversible that
always there is someone there.
There is someone there, but the blockchain world is very cruel. I mean, if you make a mistake, nothing can save you. If your password is exposed, people will just steal your money, and it's not theoretical. It happens all the time, and you even hear about it in the papers. Now, it's clear that in order to reach mainstream, something has to be done about it. Okay, so there is a lot of work about hardware devices that provide better security, or all kinds of recovery mechanisms that it's enough that 2 out of 3 entities will know the password in order to perform a transaction. But you also need to make it user-friendly and really user-friendly, because when someone starts using Bitcoin or Ardor and they send a transaction, usually people use it with a lot of passion, but many times they don't even read the most trivial instructions, or they click through all the warnings, and these warnings were written in blood, but they just ignore all of them and lose the money. So a very big challenge to adoption of this technology is to be able to make it, how do you say, dummy-proof, yes, user-friendly, call it whatever, so that people that are not computer geeks and never created a private key and public key and don't even understand it, can use it safely without losing their funds and without getting hacked. So this is a major topic for the industry. Okay, so first of all, I would say the killer application for blockchain so far is indeed the ICO and the way to raise money. It's a wonderful thing in general, because right now the way to finance startups is to go to some venture capital. Okay, they give it percentage of your company and get in return some money with lots and lots of obligations. And the venture capital has to demand all this because they know that most startups fail and that this money will be probably wasted unless they are extremely lucky and it becomes a huge success. So because of the risks, they have many demands. What the ICO allows you is to let many small investors to put a little bit of money and and participate in the success of startup companies. Of course, it's much better to startup companies to raise money without giving equity to large rich investors, which is what it is, venture capitals eventually. But it's also good. So it's good for the startup, it's also good for the investors, because right now, most of the people sitting in this room cannot invest in a startup, because you need at least €500,000 or something like this in order to participate in the old startup economy. So blockchain is very disruptive in this case. I mean, of course, you need some regulations, because otherwise people will raise money and then disappear. And this is not, again, it's not a theoretical problem. It happens every couple of weeks. We hear about that. I had actually in the conference, someone asked me, one of the investors asked me, you know that 50% of these ICOs will disappear. So
in an
so
island,
in a year or two, but also traditional startups that raise funds, 50% of them disappear after 2 years. You need to give good. I think that this is not going away, because if you close it here, it will appear there and so on. But from what I would expect from the government, I'll give you an example. Okay, there is guys that raise money for ICO, disappears with the investors' money. But when you raise money for the ICO and you tell the public that this is your address, some hacker comes and hacks your website and changes the address, and all the ICO funds goes to this hacker. This hacker does not almost never get punished. The government, this is where I expect the government to help me, because I have a website where I want people to access the wallet. A hacker opens a website with almost the same letters, one letter different, and then publish it on Google so that it's higher than my website. And investors go to the hacker's website, give him the private key, and the hacker disappears with the fund instead of investing in the real ICO. And again, these things happen it's not rare, it's a standard right now. And these hackers almost never get punished. The best you can do is find their internet provider, and after 2 days, they take down the website. Okay, this is where we need help from the government, to make this process really secure, not by trying to apply regulations from the 1930s of the previous. And I believe these regulations were very good at the time, but it's not the only thing. I mean, the hackers is a huge problem with everything in the internet, but especially when you have tokens of value, because then the hack is more direct. You are losing money on the spot. So this is one thing that there is a lot of work to do together with the authorities to make sure that people that try to hack it. Right now, they are kind of culture heroes, these hackers. Okay, so I sort of see on some hacker writes on Medium how he hacked $100 million of Ethereum because he found a bug in a smart contract. I mean, if this guy were taking a shotgun, going to the bank and stealing $100 million, he would write it on Medium. There is no risk of punishment. It's completely insane. The honest entrepreneurs has to go through all kinds of regulations, but the hackers get away for it with almost no punishment or risk or even risk.
That's a really big problem. Yeah. Do you have something to say? Are we going to go against these guys, or they can be?
Well, I mean, the problem is that
heroes.
It's almost impossible to find them.
No, it's not impossible to find. If with with concentrated action, it's not that difficult to find find these guys, because eventually they need to open a domain somewhere, register somewhere, and you can get to this. Or if there is one that does not enforce this, find him first and find him until he does it. And there are certain steps, right? Because right now you approach the authorities. I approach the authorities and I'm telling them, look, this hacker opens the website and stole users' money. They ask, did he stole your money? No, he stole my users' money. So ask your users to file a complaint. But the user is in Indonesia, okay?
Or they are thousands of them.
Okay, or there are 1,000 distributed users. So how exactly? There are no tools to manage this.
They have to adapt. This also the criminal law.
Yeah. Okay. So many things still to do. So, I have last question for each of you, and I would like to ask you for the 1 minute answer, if you can. We are not forced. But for example, Sunil, how do you see the future for business? Easier or harder?
Business always is harder. So I would say that business always is harder. So
business always is harder. Okay.
So
yeah.
It's tough.
Always is hard.
Yeah. So depends what you want to do and how you want to do it. So and the complexity of any kind of project. So
okay. Fair enough. Okay. Jorge, how do you see the future? Restrictive or constructive?
Well, I don't like over-regulation, but I think that you need, some restrictions in order to separate the good guys from the bad guys. You need something. Because, otherwise you have a mix-up of people that are offering ICOs, and then you don't know who is making a fraud, who is not making a fraud. So you need something. Probably has to be softer than the regulations of the 1931, of the 1933, that is the US Securities Act after the 1929 crack.
Yes.
You need something different of the pure regulation on
on
IPOs, something in the middle, but I think that we need something because now, I don't know how many ICOs are open, and the investors has now the possibility to differentiate who are the good ones, who got some degree of regulation, and who are not. And this is something what happened with the crowdfunding and lending regulation, although I don't like that. I think that is pretty restrictive in Spain, that regulation. But it is true that, the idea was not bad. To say, okay, you are making crowdfunding, then, you are regulated. So, and it is also good because when you are regulated, people that has not approached this market start to approach the market because you are a regulated entity and you feel that you can be somehow protected. And if, let's say, and if someone wants to go to Venezuela, okay, it's your choice. And now you can go to Curacao to make, to invest in many things. But then, you have to, your country risk and your regulatory risk. But I think that something has to be done. Probably softer than what we have, but for the consumer or the investors to have an idea on where the people are, on the good side or in the bad side.
Good. And Lior, should companies think about building their own blockchain or hiring or taking some blockchain as a service or some service that provides blockchain?
So I'll answer a little bit different. From in Jelurida, what we are doing, we are quite familiar with the public blockchain scenario. And we are trying now to enter let's call it the permission blockchain scenario, to work with businesses to implement blockchain technology, even if it means not public tokens that are traded in all kinds of exchanges. Now, and there are several models that we are trying to get. You need, the whole idea of blockchain is that you want If you just, guys like IBM come and say, we have a blockchain as a service, we will give you the nodes, it will run on the IBM cloud, okay? Now they have a problem in the IBM, a bug in the IBM cloud, your whole blockchain is disabled completely. With a blockchain, what is important is that it is diversified, is that many different entities are actually controlling the blockchain. Many entities that do not trust each other work together on the transaction validation, and one property that it provides you is a lot of redundancy, because all the transactions, for example, our blockchain right now, it has maybe 500 nodes online at any moment, but any one of them can go down, but the blockchain is operational 100%, even if 10 or 20 or 30% of the nodes are taken down by an internet outage. In fact, it's enough that, I don't know, 3 nodes will survive in order to recover the state of the network. So I don't like, Veronica always pushes me to say blockchain as service, but I don't see blockchain as service as kind of this cloud, Google Cloud service where you store your files. On the contrary, it's better to diversify the service to many different technologies, entities, everything that can be spread on territories. This makes the blockchain more decentralized and more resilient to outages or to censorship or whatever.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I think it's time.